The harsh winds of the desolate planet Draxen, nine howled through the abandoned mining facility, carrying with them the scent of sulfur and rust. The planet, known for its vast deserts and poisonous atmosphere, had been abandoned long ago, leaving only the echoes of a forgotten empire. It was a place where survival was a game of chance, and hope was a luxury that few could afford. Captain Elias Thorne, a seasoned soldier and bounty hunter, was no stranger to dangerous planets. He had made a living hunting fugitives and recovering lost treasures. But when his latest contract brought him to Draxen 9, he had no idea what he was about to encounter. The local government had promised him a hefty reward for clearing out the remnants of a criminal syndicate that had been operating in the abandoned mines. What he didn't expect to find was the cage. It was in the deepest part of the old facility, a forgotten corner where the air was thick with dust and decay. As he approached the rusted iron bars, Elias noticed the faint sound of sobbing. He had learned to ignore most of the noise on planets like Draxen 9, but this cry was different. It was the sound of despair, of hopelessness, of someone who had lost everything. Elias hesitated for only a moment before stepping closer, his hand reaching out to push aside the torn cloth that covered the opening. What he saw inside made his blood run cold. A young alien girl, no more than 17 or 18 by her appearance, was curled up in the corner of the cage. Her skin was a soft shade of teal, her hair a tangled mess of dark tendrils that cascaded down her back. She was naked, her body covered in dirt, bruises, and what appeared to be scars, deep, angry marks that told a story of torment and suffering. Her eyes, once vibrant and full of life, were now dull and lifeless, the weight of her pain too much for them to bear. And her tears flowed freely, as though she had no strength left to stop them. Elias's heart clenched at the sight. He had seen pain before, more than he cared to admit, but this was different. This was not just suffering. This was the complete erasure of hope. "Hey," Elias said softly, his voice breaking the silence. He reached into the cage, careful not to startle her. "I'm not here to hurt you." The girl looked up at him, her eyes wide with fear, but there was something else there, a flicker of recognition. She had been abandoned, forgotten by the world, and now someone had come for her. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, her eyes locked onto his with a mixture of disbelief and desperation. "Oh, who are you?" she whispered, her voice hoarse from disuse. "My name's Elias," he said, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. "I'm here to get you out of here." She stared at him, her gaze filled with confusion and skepticism. "Why? Why would you help me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elias's heart ached as he crouched down beside the cage. "Because it's the right thing to do. No one should be treated like this." She blinked, as if trying to process his words, but her eyes fell to the floor again. "I have nothing left," she said, her voice breaking. "No clothes, no food, no hope. Just pain. And I don't know if I can keep going anymore." Elias's anger flared. Whoever had done this to her would pay. He made a silent vow to himself that he would see to it personally. But for now, his focus was on her. "Listen to me," he said gently. "You're not alone anymore. I'm going to get you out of this place, and I'm going to make sure you're safe." The alien girl looked up at him, her expression a mixture of disbelief and fear. "But I don't know how to live," she said softly. "I don't know what it means to be free." "You will," Elias said, his voice unwavering. "We'll take it one step at a time. But first, we need to get you out of here." With a grunt of effort, Elias pried open the lock on the cage. The door creaked loudly as it swung open, and for a moment, neither of them moved. It felt as though the world had stopped, as if the very air itself was holding its breath. Then, slowly, cautiously, the girl stepped out of the cage. Her legs wobbled beneath her, as though she hadn't used them in far too long. Elias reached out to steady her, and she leaned against him, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Elias nodded, helping her to her feet. "It's not over yet. We need to get out of here." The journey back to the ship was not easy. The girl, whose name turned out to be Lyra, was weak and exhausted, but she was determined to survive. Elias carried her when she couldn't walk, using all his strength to push forward through the remnants of the wrecked facility. They encountered resistance along the way. Former members of the criminal syndicate who had been using the facility as a hideout, but Elias dealt with them swiftly and efficiently, his training as a soldier making him a formidable force. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the ship. Elias helped Lyra aboard, and they set off, leaving Draxen 9 behind. The next few days were a blur of recovery. Elias took Lyra to a medical facility on a nearby planet, where she was treated for her wounds and given the care she needed. As she regained her strength, she began to open up to Elias about her past. She had been born on a planet far from Draxen 9, a peaceful world where her people had lived in harmony with nature. But everything changed when her planet was invaded by an alien warlord who sought to enslave her people. Lyra had been captured, her family killed, and she had been sold as property to the highest bidder. The years that followed were filled with torment and abuse, each day blending into the next until all hope had vanished. But now here she was, free. Elias could see the transformation taking place in her. The brokenness in her eyes was slowly being replaced by a flicker of life, a spark of hope. And for the first time in years, Lyra smiled. Months passed, and Lyra found a new purpose. She and Elias traveled together, visiting planets in need, helping those who had been forgotten by society. She became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest places, hope could be found. Elias, too, found healing in their journey. He had rescued her, but in a way, she had rescued him as well. He had lived a life full of loss, but now, for the first time in a long while, he felt like he had a reason to fight again. And though the scars of their past would never fully disappear, they had each other. They had found something more precious than anything the galaxy could offer: a second chance.